Hi everybody, I'm Gina from Chris and G Travels, and today I want to show you guys this super yummy, easy, healthy, homemade granola recipe. So the best thing about making your own granola is that you can pretty much use any ingredients that you want. So I'm going to show you guys my favorite ingredients to use, but then I'll also give you some suggestions for substitutes in case you want to do something different. So I'm going to show you the ingredients and then we'll get going. I'll be giving you guys instructions on exactly how to make the granola, but if you want a breakdown of the detailed ingredients in list form, then you can click the link below for Chris and G Travels and they'll all be listed right there. First, we're going to put all of our dry ingredients in. We have oats, and you want to make sure that you don't use quick cooking oats or steel cut oats. They need to be like just the plain old rolled old-fashioned oats. I have 3 cups here of that, so we're gonna pour it into the bowl. And the reason why you don't wanna use any quick cooking is because that usually means that they're higher processed and you wanna do as little of that as possible. For the nuts we're using today, I chose walnuts and almonds that I actually put in the food processor, so that's why it's kind of like an almond meal. You don't necessarily have to do that, but if you don't grind them up, I suggest you at least chop them into smaller forms or get sliced almonds because big chunks of almonds in your granola aren't really gonna be so great. So now I'm gonna pour in the almond meal, which was 1 cup of almonds before I put it in the food processor. And then I did half a cup of walnuts and I chopped those up. You can put those in the food processor as well, but I think having some in the food processor and some in a little bit bigger chopped up pieces just gives it better texture. So we're going to put our half cup of walnuts in. And if you don't like walnuts or almonds, you can do pecans, you can do cashews, you can really do any nuts that you choose. Those are just my preferred ones. Next, we have pumpkin seeds. I love pumpkin seeds because they are super powerful little guys. They've got magnesium, protein, good vitamins. Basically, they're really good for you. I actually really prefer the taste over sunflower seeds, but if you want, you can do sunflower seeds instead. But whichever seed you choose, make sure that you're doing a fully raw form and they're not added salt or anything like that. So this is half a cup of the pumpkin seeds. We're gonna throw those in. Gonna make a lot of granola. So I also really love coconut and I feel like it gives a really good flavor, but you don't necessarily have to add coconut if you're not a coconut fan. But if you do want to add coconut, this is 1 cup of coconut shreds and chunks, and I actually just get these from like the bulk section of Whole Foods, or Sprouts has it too. They're super easy to find. Just try to get the unsweetened kind. That's as pure as you can get it. So now I'm gonna pour the 1 cup of coconut in. And now I'm gonna mix this around just to get it all even. All right, so once that's all mixed, you're gonna wanna add in some sort of dried fruit. I actually really prefer dates because they're basically nature's candy. They're super delicious. They don't have added sugar, but they're super sweet and so yummy. So I de-pitted these and put them in a food processor as well to get them into smaller pieces. So we're gonna add these in and they're super sticky. So it's just gonna be a little tricky, but just do the best you can. If you don't wanna use dates, you can do dried cranberries, blueberries, really any type of dried gooey kind of fruit you want. Okay, now normally this won't be so hard if you're not using dates. It won't be nearly as sticky. But because we're using dates, I'm just gonna mix this up so they get mixed up in that mixture. Spread around a little bit. And if you're not a dried fruits person, you definitely don't even need to add the dried fruit. I think it just gives the granola a good texture, kind of like a chewiness and an added sweetness as well. And I used about 1 cup of dates. We're gonna mix those up one more time. And this makes a really large amount of granola, so if you don't want to make this much, you can definitely cut it in half. The amount of oats in there makes the portion a lot bigger, so you can definitely just cut those in half even if you want to make the granola smaller. The best part about this granola is you can actually stick it in the freezer for like 3 or 4 months and it'll be totally good to go. So don't feel like you have to eat it all in 1 week or something. So once we have our base of our granola, we're gonna add all the extra goodies. So first I'm going to do pure vanilla extract. We're going to add 3 teaspoons of this, and 3. And then right away, just mix that vanilla in a little bit. Next, we're gonna do 3 teaspoons of ground cinnamon. I really like cinnamon, so these are basically heaping teaspoons. We're going to do a little spritzel of salt, about half a teaspoon. So I just have this grinder, so I just guess. Just grind it up a bit. That seems like it's about half a teaspoon. All right, so once you feel like that is all even, I'm going to add a whole half cup of honey. This is gonna make it really hard to stir up, and the honey's probably only gonna get to some parts of the granola, but that's okay. Pouring all the honey in. Now try to mix that up. It's gonna be a little bit tricky, but try to get that honey all even. It should make everything stick together a little bit more. Now, if you want to do maple syrup instead of honey, that's totally an option as well. And you actually don't even need to add either of those, but it does obviously help for the sweetness, makes it a little bit more sweet, and also it helps it to stick together. So if you like your granola extra crumbly, then do less of the maple syrup or honey. This is still gonna be pretty crumbly because we didn't use a whole lot, but it'll be good. Once the honey's in, the very last thing we're gonna add is coconut oil. So we need to just melt a half a cup of coconut oil. We have our half-ish cup of coconut oil, and I just used organic virgin cold pressed unrefined coconut oil, the good stuff. You can get it at Costco in that huge container. I'm going to stick it in the microwave and melt it. Now we have our half cup of melted coconut oil that I'm gonna pour in, and then right away we're gonna wanna mix that to make sure it gets all in there. And I'm actually just gonna use my hands because it's just gonna make it a lot easier. Once all of that is thoroughly mixed through, I'm actually gonna melt a little bit more coconut oil to pour on the pan, just to make sure that it doesn't stick when it's cooking. So right now I'm just putting all the coconut oil around, make sure that it's fully covered so it doesn't stick when it's baking. So now the hard part about being in an RV convection oven is that it's super, super tiny. This is obviously a really tiny cookie sheet. I'm probably gonna have to do this granola in groups of 2. So let's see how much is gonna fit on this pan. So you wanna kind of spread it out evenly. You want a pretty thin layer just to make sure it cooks evenly, or else it's gonna cook really uneven if it's too thick. So we're gonna just do it like that, and then we'll do the next set after. So once your granola is on your little Polly Pocket sized baking sheet, we are going to preheat the oven to 350, put it in for about 15-ish minutes, flip the pan around to make sure that it gets evenly cooked, and then cook it for about 20-ish more minutes. Okay, so now we're gonna put it in the oven. Polly Pocket oven. We're going to set it to 20 minutes. I take that back. We're going to set it to 15 minutes. And then after that's over, we're gonna rotate the pan and then cook it for like 20-ish more minutes and see how it goes. Okay, so now I need to take it out of the oven and rotate it, but I'm also going to add some raw cacao nibs on top. It's coming along nicely. So these are raw cacao nibs. I'm just gonna sprinkle a little bit on top to give it some chocolatey flavor. This is definitely optional, so don't feel like you have to do this, but I really love chocolate. Now we're gonna put them back in the oven for about 15 minutes. You could do a little bit longer depending on your oven, but with the convection oven, it cooks really fast, so we're gonna do about 15 to 20 minutes. I'll check on them at 15 because I don't like it to get too crispy. Okay, so we're gonna take it out of the oven and see how it looks. It's perf. I'll show you guys what it looks like. Can you see it? So I like mine this golden brown with a little bit of crisp. You can definitely cook it longer if you want it to be a little bit crispier, but I did mine for almost, it was maybe like 28 minutes or so. But your oven definitely changes things, so I would check it every like 15 minutes just to be sure. Not treats for the fuzzies. I'm just gonna sprinkle a little bit on top to give it some chocolatey flavor.